Morning intuitives. Again, it's sadly becoming a theme, but it's been a little longer than I expected to put another video up, and I actually have a good reason, so I'll tell you. I mentioned how the Department of Justice issued me my right to sue letter to sue Arlington County. Again, if you're not familiar with that, videos on the channel, my news appearances, take it for what it is. I can't really go into details. It's an active civil lawsuit matter, but now I've officially filed suit against them, and it's now a matter of public record, that I'm pursuing a civil suit against them and the reasons why and some of the evidence in the affidavit. But I wanted to do a video today, to try to explain to my fellow NFJ types that despite how idealistic we are and our need to help people and our need to fight and our need to do the right thing and our integrity in general, there are things that hold us back at certain times from doing what we want to do or what we feel we need to do. And simply put, it's something all types have, but they differ by type, and that is our fears. So what are our fears? And I would say the number one is humanity's potential for evil. INFJs, we crave a world with equality, compassion, and freedom, and we are often set off or triggered by injustice, corruption, cruelty, double standards, things of that nature. And because of our intuitive nature, we better than most can see through people. So, someone like boisterous, smooth-talking, yet slimy, sleazy ENTP, who most people can't see through, we can. And we see what they're really after, why they're manipulating and using people, but we fear to call that out because we fear if anyone will listen to us. The INFJ, the ENFJ in situations is the one who keeps telling themselves that everything's going to be okay in a bad situation when their intuition's telling them that it's not, and whatever they're trying to tell themselves it's okay to push themselves through will haunt them. INFJs, we're the ones who know what's going on, but we're also the ones who are afraid no one will listen to us because we're afraid that no one else can, put the pieces together, see what we see. However, it's not really true, because if you start, if INFJs start explaining things in a situation like this, other intuitives where NI may not be their dominant function, it'll be enough to jumpstart it, and they'll put it together, and you'll have that aha moment and all that. INFJs, death or loss of children. It's something about people hurting children, especially babies, that really is a fear to us. I know INFJs that want to be parents in the worst ways, but they fear that any potential harm to, their child would be either devastating, or they never leave their house again, or will, send them on a vengeance quest that will, could potentially cause a lot of damage. Unhealthy INFJs are able to rally people and for bad causes and get influence for them. A certain Austrian gentleman comes to mind. Another thing, phone calls. Even though we're introverts, we do like to interact with people, but on our own terms. We much prefer face-to-face contact with someone than being on the phone. I mean, video chats are better than being on the phone. It's just something about being on the phone and that sense that it's hard to read someone, see their facial cues, use our intuition, and also be locked in a small talk conversation, which is painful and horrible, and we don't want to do that. It's a common fear for us. Another big one, crowds. We need our alone time to recharge, but we also like our time with a close group of small friends, like say in a pub with half a dozen people. Awesome. But being, with say one person we know in a crowd of people we don't know, very overwhelming, very draining, and our tolerance for it is limited. Another one that, I think I briefly went over it in my INFJs want to believe things is ghosts. And I'll admit it's a fear of mine, ghosts. Um, you know, we are very spiritual people, and the idea of something that could potentially, possibly, maybe, if it exists, do you harm without you being able to protect yourself or the people that you care about, I personally find that fearful. Like, what do you do to what do you do to a ghost? Like, I'll give you an off-the-wall example. It's like you're out in the woods and you see like some cryptid, like Dogman or something. Okay, terrifying, but it's like, flesh and blood creature, and I have a revolver. You know, anything that bleeds can die. The idea of something like, a ghost being able to do your loved ones harm and you not being able to act accordingly is terrifying to a lot of INFJs, and I wasn't surprised to see that in the article I read. Again, I fear ghosts. Insanity. Alright, INFJs, we, more than any other type, get wrongfully accused of being insane. Insanity comes frequently for us in our darker thoughts, like you think you're losing your mind because we're so much different than the mainstream sensor types, and we fear that nobody understands us, and we often get slandered by many, people because we can see what they're really up to. The person who is perpetrating these acts of exploitation or abuse of some sort will try to discredit us because other people may start beginning to see what they're up to, and they can't have that. Their plan will fall apart. So just discredit the eccentric INFJ so they don't listen to him or her. Keep the status quo going. Stop the INFJ. It's kind of a common theme in real life fiction, because it's, real. Okay, so we have to understand that, just because we can see things other people might have a hard time putting the pieces together to doesn't make us insane. It's, intuition is not insanity. It's, NI, introverted intuition, is the least understood of the 8 cognitive functions, but it is not insanity. And if someone's trying to slander you as insane, the most important thing is to understand their motives behind wanting to do so. Oh, another big one. So, trust. Yeah, trust. INFJs are notorious for having a difficult time trusting others because we read between the lines frequently and look for hidden messages. And we can take everything with a grain of salt almost without realizing that because we are the smallest minority, making up only about 1% of the population, we feel alienated more than most people. So, as INFJs and ENFJs too, we've all been burned, we've all been taken advantage of. We've all been played in our youths when we were unsure of ourselves and, relatively easy to manipulate. And that scars us for the rest of our lives, especially INFJs, because we're very selective in the people we open up to and let in. And we'll often reflect on our past experiences and notice patterns in other people and walk away from them. It's not a terrible thing, but, don't tilt at windmills. Don't see things that aren't there. If you see red flags and warning signs, yeah, best you listen to them. But understand, you're not completely alone. There are others like us. There are people that understand us, and not everybody is a narcissist or an abuser. But expose the ones who are just the same. Supernatural. Like I said, INFJs want to believe, so some aspects of what could be, what could potentially be real, give us fear from time to time. Even INFJs that practice witchcraft, for example. Not that there's many of them, especially males. Oh, wait, me. So, supernatural can, and the idea of karma can fear us from time to time, although we're usually, pretty good about karma and doing the right thing. Another one that isn't talked about much is our own imagination. Our minds can go dark. our minds can go dark real quick. And INFJs, we have this bad thing where in a lot of situations we'll automatically assume the worst possible outcome just to prepare ourselves for it because, we feel unlucky and that it's inevitable that it's all going to come burning down and we will lose again. So the idea that, it's going to all end wrong and we may trick ourselves into having gut feelings toward this, perhaps based on past experiences. You have to look at the evidence and look how something's actually going. You can't always assume the worst. You can't assume that just because something went one way in your teens isn't going to go the same way in your 30s, and you have to understand, all the facts and evidence around you. And especially if you're an abused INFJ where you feel like you're living life on trial, you have to learn to understand that abuse and why those people put you down and wanted you to constantly doubt yourself. It's because they see something in you they wanted to destroy. And that not all people are like that, especially when you get yourself out of that environment or narcissistic area like Chester County, Pennsylvania, for example. So those are some things that, give us fear in various ways through life and cause us doubt and hesitation to do the things that we want to do. You have to recognize them, learn about them, and know if those fears, when they pop up, are valid or not. Figured that might help some people that are hesitant towards taking steps they want to take or doing things they want to do or potentially calling people out to help others. So until next time, trust your intuitions. Don't always overthink things, and don't always assume the worst, but also never sell out your integrity and make sure to do the right thing. I'll see you soon, and I might have another court case update then.